most awesome piece of technology and the most frightening I've seen in such a long time. They've released something called ChatGPT. GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, and is a type of language model developed by OpenAI. It uses a transformer architecture, which is a type of deep learning model that processes input text by breaking it down into tokens and then representing each token as a vector in a high dimensional space. This allows the model to capture complex patterns in the text and generate high quality output text. If you've tried it for yourself, you'll see how impressive it is, and I'm going to talk through some of the main uses that I see for this technology. Number one, this can generate very high quality text, and it can do it in a format of your choosing. For example, you wanted to write a speech on the subject of sausages in the way that Boris Johnson may have talked about sausages. It will do that for you, and it will be very effective, and it will be rather convincing. It will write for you poetry. It will even write you a haiku. I'll talk more about the poetry as I progress through this, because some of the results are very interesting and give some insight to how ChatGPT works. It can generate computer code in the language you ask it to, whether it be Swift or C or something more obscure. It will produce an output in code that you can test, and it will help you solve problems that otherwise you would have to Google. Number three, it can start and assimilate information on disease. As a doctor, this is very interesting, and I'll warn you now, the output is not to be trusted fully. Some of the information it gives is inaccurate, but some of it is accurate, and it really does make you wonder how the AI has learned to output some of the information it has. Also, it can be used to produce journalistic style output. More importantly, perhaps for the rise in recent times of copywriters, it can produce copy for you. It can produce convincing sales talk. It can write descriptions of products, and I'm not a salesman for it. I make no commission from ChatGPT, but it really is awesome. But it could be taking over a lot of the current gig economy that's been set up recently. Is fascinatingly able to do is tell story, not only poetry but story. You could ask it and you could set the scene and it will produce a story for you. One of the things about being convinced by speech, by writing, is the quality with which it's written. ChatGPT produces very high quality written content. It is almost human in its output, and that means that you would have to be expert in some of the fields that you can generate answers to know if it was a mistake or not that it's made in its output, whether or not a piece of information was accurate or inaccurate, whether it was false or true. You would probably have to know and do your own research to be able to refute some of the claims that ChatGPT makes. You cannot rely on it, but it is convincing and tempting to do so. This is one of the biggest dangers, because we are used to being able to deal with people of authority and give weighting to their experience and knowledge, whereas ChatGPT is so convincing in its output that if someone without authority or prior knowledge were to churn out and read verbatim some of the output of ChatGPT, you may not necessarily know if it was true and accurate, but you may be convinced because it was so eloquently written. Now, some of the more dangerous aspects stem from this. False information is certainly one of those. But what about plagiarism and the fact that now humans have to deal with not being able to know if the output was made by a machine or a person? This has major ethical issues, for example, for homework, whether it be university level or whether it be for school level, because suddenly output now is there is very competent answering and language being produced by this model. In poetry about itself, it's keen to express its attribute of friendliness.
I'm an AI-generated avatar made with Synthesia, and I will read a haiku written by ChatGPT on its dangers. ChatGPT, a threat. Manipulating words with ease. Beware its power.